go. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Tom. He looks handsome as ever. He's not wearing a hoodie today. He's been wearing hoodies, but today he does not have a hoodie on. So he's in a button down. I'm in a sweatshirt, no hoods. My wife bought me a new sweatshirt. I said no hoods this time around, Tom. Not the smartest guys in the room. When is it time to cut bait and move on, Tom? What say you? Hoodies. What do you got going on?
Yeah, I'm not. You're right. I'm not wearing a hoodie today, but I am wearing a shacket. So it's like a it's a shirt, but it's like lined. So yeah. So it goes by the moniker of a shacket, which sounds like you're trying to say something inappropriate. And it's kind of fun to like. It's one of those things where you say it and people kind of go, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" Which I always, get a silly little kick out of. So yeah, I'm rocking a shacket today. It's hoodie weather, but it's also shacket weather, where I come from, apparently. So we're just gonna run with that. But
Are
I
you
don't know
sure? Are
about
you
that.
sure those are shacket? Does anybody else call it a shacket?
Yeah, I didn't make that up by myself. Like I've heard that. I've heard other people use it. I've heard other people say it. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the sweatshirt without a hood thing though. Like, I don't know about the standard sweatshirt thing. Like sweater, fine, but like I don't know. I feel like hoodies are the sort of like ideal sweatshirt.
Here's my beef, though. I feel like I can't go everywhere with a hood on. Like, shouldn't I be a member of society at some point? And like, I feel like I can't walk everywhere with a hood on my back. It's just too much. Like I'm going to an athletic performance or something. No, I'm just going to the mall. I don't need a hood on.
Too much weight to carry.
Yeah, it's like when my dad's in landscaping and he taught me this thing called form follows function. So how the landscaping goes is basically how is this used, and then let's figure out how the landscaping goes. If I'm going to the mall, I don't need a hood on, or I'm going to be in at the movies. Why do I have a hood on? So the function of having a hood when I don't need a hood. I mean, if I'm going to the game and I want to pull a hood up over, but I mean to just live my everyday life, do I need a hood?
No, you don't need a hood. It's not a need. I mean, sometimes it's a really nice to have, right? Like I don't think hoods are ever really like a need, right? It's often a really nice to have. I mean, especially for me, right? Because like under the hat, as we all know, I'm bald, and you would be surprised how well your hair insulates your head from the cold, and you'll never know like just how well it does that until you don't have hair. Um, so like for me, even having a hood, I actually like, I'll do it all the time. Like I have my hat on and I'll pull the hood up to just keep a little warmth in around my head, because otherwise my head gets really cold really fast. It's just the perils of baldness, so to speak, in the winter weather in a place that has seasons. The flip side of that is the peril of being bald in a hot place is sunburn on top of your noggin, which also sucks real bad. So it's there's ups and downs no matter where you go. But I'm a fan of the hood. I'm not wearing one right now. Uh, I'm rocking the shacket, but I think a hoodie is the prime example of a sweatshirt, and I feel like a sweatshirt without a hood is a secondary, a lower form of sweatshirt, so to speak.
Brian, what say you? You want to jump in on that? He seems like he's eager to jump in on sweatshirts with hood. What do you got, Brian?
You know me, I'm always willing to jump in. Um, I think it's about utility. I sweatshirts with hoods have been around longer than probably people realize. And if you want to distinguish them between a hoodie and a sweatshirt, they're really two different things. One's not taking the place of the other for this reason. Typically, a sweatshirt didn't have or doesn't. I'm sure there's some that do didn't have a hood or pockets. The nice thing about a hoodie, which is different than a sweatshirt, is that it has pockets typically and a hood. And to me, there were two different reasons you wore them. To me, a sweatshirt you wore for one reason. If it got colder out, and you were even going to be less casual, you wore a hoodie. Now, obviously, they make very cool looking hoodies now that you could probably wear for numerous occasions. But to me, they will be always and are two different things, both serving their own purpose. You don't get pockets with a sweatshirt or the utility of a hood or the utility of pockets that you do with just a sweatshirt. So that's the way I distinguish them.
Fair point, and good. I appreciate that, Brian. I got one thing real quick before we move on to the actual topic that we came here to talk about today, and that is, you often give me a little bit of grief about eating while we're not the smartest guys in the room. It just happens to be the time of day when I'm often having something to eat. But today, I just thought I'd mention, because we talked about it a little while back at the beginning of the month. Actually, I think we were talking about pumpkin spice, right? And it was a subject of Tom's Thumbs. What I'm eating is a piece of toast with pumpkin butter on it from Trader Joe's. So same idea as apple butter, right? For those who don't know, yeah, it's pumpkin butter. And it's just cooked down. It's like sort of like concentrated pumpkin pie. Like filling flavor, right? But it doesn't have eggs in it, so it's not that kind of texture. It's more the texture of like apple butter, but it's that flavor, and it's freaking delicious on toast. So just wanted to throw that out there, let you know that I do like pumpkin spice in certain things, and this is out of pumpkin pie, but I think it works because it's actually made of pumpkin. So I'm enjoying a piece of toast with pumpkin butter on it from Trader Joe's.
There you go. You are full circle yuppie now. Trader Joe's, pumpkin butter. Uh, you have failed. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. When is it time to cut bait and move on? Me and Tom were throwing some ideas back and forth, and this one, when he phrased it like that, he's like, "You mean cut bait and move on?" I'm like, "Yeah, there you go. That's the topic." So I'm talking about project, partnership, apps. How do you know when I've spent too much time on Canva and it's not as functional as I want it to be, and I need to move on forever? When I'm book brush, I make book covers and I make ads with book brush using book covers that my team has made. It works. They look the right way. I use book brush. I pay book brush whatever a year, and I make 1,000 ads a year on book brush. I like book brush. I don't love Canva. Is it time to move on? In all phases of our life, Tom, there's things that we move on from or decide. So what say you on the subject, and let's get people started.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think like let's start broad and kind of focus in a little bit, right? So I think broadly speaking, when anything, right, whether it's a situation, whether it's a tool, whether it's a way of doing something, a modality or a method, if anything is not giving you what you need out of it, right, then I think the impetus is on us as to look inward first, right? To look at ourselves first and determine whether or not it's something that we can fix in the way we're using something, in the way we're doing something. And if the answer to that is no, then I think it's time to cut bait, right? I think it's time to move on. So let me kind of give you a little bit of a clearer example. Let's actually use the Canva example you were using, right? So I don't personally use Canva. I'm familiar with like the Adobe suite of software. I have that all because of what I do professionally, because I own a production company and we use the Adobe suite of software. So I have a subscription to that suite, and so I have access to all of those applications, and I'm familiar with them. I know how to use them, right? So I don't use Canva. But if I were to use Canva and I found some frustration with what I was getting out of it, and I decided to look at whether or not it was the way I was interacting, was I the problem or is Canva the problem, right? Is kind of what I'm trying to determine. And I determined that Canva's the problem because it just won't do or can't do what I need it to do, right? For the kind of designs that I want to create, for the kinds of products that I want to create out of it, it just doesn't have the tools to do it, right? Then I think the answer is to cut bait on Canva. If the situation is a little bit different, if Canva has the tools and it's a matter of me not knowing how to use them, then I think it's a matter of educating myself, learning the platform more thoroughly, more completely, and learning how to apply things so that I can get what I want out of Canva, right? So I think ultimately when it comes down to it, in my mind, what determines whether or not it's time to cut bait is whether or not you are the limiting factor. And then I think to go one step further than that, then the question is, okay, I'm the limiting factor when it comes to working with Canva. I've determined that I'm the limiting factor. Now the question is, do I want to take the time, or should I take the time to educate myself, or does it make more sense for me to do one of two things: to move on and do without, right, or to outsource that work to someone else who already has that skill set, so that I'm not holding up and gumming up the works, right? I.e., is it the best use of my time for me to learn how to use the thing so I can get the most out of it, right? Or is it a better use of my time to delegate that to someone else? Or, third option, is it a better use or better idea to just cut bait and walk away? Right. So I think like there are always options. But I think when it's time to cut bait and walk away is ultimately when you boil it down, when either you are not getting what you want or need out of a situation, a relationship, whether that's a partnership, whether that's an app or a program or a piece of software you're using, whether it's an employer-employee relationship, right? If you're not getting what you want or need out of that relationship, or if it's not a good use of your time, I think those are the two big reasons that I would cite for calling it time to cut bait, right, and walk away, making it, going to that place where you say, you know what, this is just not worth it anymore. I'm going to walk away from it. Rather than reinvesting time that's not paying off in the long run. So I don't know. That's my thinking on it, right? I think it depends on the situation, but there's a couple limiting factors, a couple of ways I would approach it.
I think those are all great points. Okay, let's go. We're gonna go ladies first, and we're coming to you, Brian. Debbie Griffiths, when is it time to cut bait on a project, on a partnership, on a relationship? What say you on the subject?
That's a great question, because I'm actually been looking at my social media analytics. I've been tracking it now for about 6 months to see where I'm growing, where I'm not growing, et cetera, et cetera. Because as we all know, it takes some time and effort to do the posting, to do the follow up. And one social media channel on Twitter, now X, I'm not seeing anything. So I'm actually giving it to the end of the year. Excuse me. And if I don't see anything, then I'm, any more growth, if it just stays static, no interactions, then I'm going to cut bait. I would rather focus on my other channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, where I'm growing and I seem to be having that impact. So for me, for social media, it's about where I'm having impact, where I'm seeing the growth. So I land my plane.
That's good stuff, Debbie. Do you feel that X? I'm wondering if X is more of a news source at this point, and wondering, can you fit content into news source, or is the content just not for that platform?
It may be both. Twitter X has changed as we all know, since Elon took over. And I know there's been a lot of people that have left that platform, and I've never really seen the growth come back on. But I do see people where they make comments, but it's generally either political or news related. So that may not be the platform for me.
That's fair, Debbie. And I like when Tom was mentioning how to use a certain platform, like if it doesn't serve you. I tried Snapchat and I was off Snapchat in 2 weeks. And it was not because of me not being able to use it. It was for how I want to share my message to the world. I did not think Snapchat with these messages that go away, with these messages that are harder to send to a mass audience, it just wasn't for me. So, I mean, could be for a lot of users, not for me. Okay, go on, Tom.
I just wanted to say, in terms of X, I would put some very, very heavy, like gigantic air quotes around news source for X, right? Like, I mean, it is, if you go on there, it is not a news source. And I'm not just applying that to X. I think, broadly speaking, too many people, and this is, sort of anecdotal experience from my own personal life, right? Too many people think of social media platforms as news sources, right? And they are not. They are potentially sources of information, but like there is very little to no sort of sourcing for that information. There's no journalistic standards that go along with those. So like at the end of the day, I would say to anybody, do not treat any social media platform as a news source, right? It could be a source of information. You might hear something that sounds interesting, and my sort of caveat to that, and what I would suggest you do, is if you hear something somewhere, go and try to corroborate that story, right, or that information. Corroborate it somewhere else, not on a social media platform, right? So like, I don't know, I just wanted to say that it's like something that like is like constantly kind of a thorn in my side, especially when it comes to like my relationships with like some of the people that I'm very close to. They treat social media like it's a news source, and it drives me nuts because it's not. Because anybody can post anything on social media and there's no journalistic standards behind it. There's nothing to say that it's actually true. There's nothing to prove or disprove its veracity. So it drives me absolutely nuts. So like, that's a personal beef I have with people calling any social media platform or anything they get off social media news, because it ain't.
All right, you jumped on my language very quickly. So it's a distribution platform where I can get to my trusted news source quicker, whoever that may be. Like if I trust NBC, or CNN or Fox or whoever, I can look, I can see more of the Steelers. I mean, I can find information from those people and then verify my trusted news source. Okay. But when Solly was landing in the Hudson, which made X what it is, uh, people were, multiple people are showing pictures of that plane landing in the Hudson. Now it could be AI at this point, but it was a good source of information. Now I need to trust and verify it on my own. Okay, when is it? Go on, Tom. What do you got?
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, that was when it was Twitter, right? Like, yeah, that was when it was Twitter. That was long before Elon got involved and took it private, and has since sort of rung amok. It's become a home for white supremacists and anti-Semitic and pro sort of neo-Nazi vitriol and stuff. So it's not yeah, it has gone downhill since Elon took over. Let's just we'll put it that way, not to put too fine a point on it, but yeah, I mean, no, look, social media has changed a lot over like the last 15 years that it's sort of been used. and proliferated through culture, and it's gone through a couple of different sort of iterations of itself, and it'll continue to change over time. I just think, yeah, it's not a news source. Like, if you're using any social media platform as a news source, it's time to cut bait and move on. How about that?
That's fair. Okay, so that's good. When is it time to cut bait and move on? I might move on from the platform you discussed. Okay, Mr. Swift, here on this platform, 2 years when they redid it and cut everybody's following and friends and how you followed people and how you could, everything was like these little notes for a while. What was going on there? I almost cut bait. I was like, I don't want to send. I want to be live with my friends. I don't want to send like these weird voice messages. So I was pondering. Mr. Swift, when is it time to cut bait and move on? Then we're coming to you, Dr. Tachi. What do you got, Mr. Swift?
Well, I agree with Tom and Debbie. If it's not serving you is one thing. The other thing, and this is where you really have to be honest with yourself, is am I going to truly take the time to learn to utilize it to the potential that I will keep it? And I think that's, you have to be honest. I have crossed that bridge where it's like, I tried a CMR custom, a customer relation platform. And you know what? It wasn't that it wasn't good. It just, I didn't see myself investing that much time into its utility and everything it did. And so I stopped it. I think you have to be honest with yourself. Am I using it, or will I use it to the extent that justifies keeping it, on top of what Tom and Debbie said? So that's my 2 cents.
Good stuff, Mr. Swift. Dr. Tachi, we are talking about when is it time to cut bait and move on. But first, if Dr. Tachi will have us, me and Tom are coming to Indie Soup with Dr. Tachi. We're bringing not the smartest guys there, so hopefully she does not cut ties with us already. Dr. Tachi, thank you. And what do you think? Are these exciting times? Go on.
First of all, I will never cut ties with you all. You all are my favorites. So whenever you are ready, we are here for you. When is it time to cut ties? This is a really great question to ask oneself when it comes to apps. For example, now I don't know if you were speaking about something specific, but I'll take it to apps. AppSumo makes it so beautiful and easy for you to pick up apps that you may need or think you're going to need, and then you end up with a bucket full of apps that you don't use. So if you assess what you have and you have not used it, now with AppSumo, you're paying ahead of time. So I'm not necessarily talking about that per se, but if you're paying a subscription, either yearly or monthly for something, and you have not opened it in several months, my dear, that means you don't need it. Get rid of it and use that money for something you're actually going to use. I think also when it comes to applications, particularly if you're in business, you're like, oh, I'm going to need that. Well, you don't need it now. So wait until you actually need it before you start paying for it. And the world of apps makes things so shiny and easy that it may even convince us that we're going to need it eventually. And you may very well, but eventually is not now. Focus on what you need currently and in the near future, and then do that. Now, is that risky? Sometimes, because sometimes you may let go of something that you actually may have really needed. So you just have to make an assessment of where you are, either business wise, personal growth wise, to see if it fits for you to let it go. But if you're not using it and you're paying for it, my dear, let it go. That's what I have to say.
That's what we were hoping for, Dr. Touch. This is good advice, and you're making me think of like how many things I've tried, and they basically maybe I wasn't ready for them at the time, or not yet, or I thought I needed it. Maybe I needed it for one project and should have had the 3-month version of it. We're going to get into projects here. When is it time to cut ties on projects and stuff? So, but first, before we do all that, go on, Dr. Tachi. What do you want to add?
Quickly, I wanted to add to the news conversation that you're saying. I agree on both. I came in as Tom was speaking. Social media should not be your primary source of news. how it can be information. However, I will say this: definitely look for agreement upon sources, whatever sources you're looking for, because here's the thing: we can no longer trust mainstream media either. So, and that's probably been the case for a very long time because of who owns what. But particularly now, we're seeing how who owns what and who has allegiances to whom, how that's affecting the information we get. So you're not even certain that you're getting true information from mainstream media. And you can certainly look to, there are people who have left mainstream media and started their own things. For example, Don Lemon, Joy Reid, Jim Acosta, they've all started their own things on Substack and YouTube. And these are trained journalists. So you can certainly find trained journalists who are interested in in not just the business, but the integrity in journalism, and report fairly and balanced and openly. But still, even with them, look for agreement upon sources. If you see the same thing over several repeated tries, chances are there's a modicum of truth. So I just wanted to add that.
Go on, Tom. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I appreciate that, Dr. Tachi. And one of the things that, one of the things I always look for, and just, maybe this is a good example for other folks to use, but one of the things I look for is if I see a story, right, or a headline or something, and then I search that story or that headline and I find a similar story, or basically a story containing the same facts, the writing of it is always slightly different because it depends on who wrote it. But if I find a similar story containing the same sort of basic set of facts from 3 sources, then I trust it, right? Then I believe that set of facts. But that's sort of like my litmus test for whether or not I take something at at factual face value, or I, kind of add a couple of grains of salt to whatever it is. So it's just one of those things. I think of it like, when we were kids, when we were in school, Dr. Tachi, for your students, right? There are standards for when you write a research paper. There are standards you have to follow for your sourcing of information, and one of those standards is that information has to be verifiable, right? And it has to appear in multiple places if you're going to present something as fact. And so I try to do that myself. Is it more work? Yes. But is it worthwhile if you want to actually know what's going on, or actually know what's true and what's not? Yeah, absolutely. It's the world we live in, for better or for worse. Reality is that you have to double check stuff. So that's the way I always do it. If I find the same set of facts in a news story from 3 different sources, I consider it to be true, and I move on from there. So if you can't find it in at least 1 or 2 other places, then I would say dismiss it as opinion or propaganda. That's my thought.
All right, well done, well said. Okay, this is not the smartest guys in the room. We appreciate all you for being here, because if you were not here, I would be talking to Tom and he would bore me to tears. No, I'm kidding. But now it is time for the most important part that we give back to you. This is Tom's Thumbs, where we ask Tom a question and he's got to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Pop culture related, something in the news, something in the media. So we're going to go polarizing today. The question, Tom, what do you think with Halloween coming up? What do you think about the people that don't give away Halloween candy? They turn their light off. They don't give away the candy. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
So I'm of 2 minds of this, right? We don't give out candy, not because we choose not to, but because literally there's no trick-or-treaters, right? We live in a kind of rural area. We have, in the time that we've lived in this house, we have not once had someone come to the door trick-or-treating, even with the light on Halloween. Nothing. Nobody comes to the door. So we don't give out candy, but it's not because we wouldn't or we don't agree with it. It's because nobody shows up at our house to go trick-or-treating, which is fine, because we live on a dark, kind of rural road. There's no street lights. It's not very safe for kids to be walking around at night. So that's fine. The other, growing up, there were some houses down the block where notoriously we wouldn't get candy, right? There was one house where you would always get like a piece of fruit, which was annoying as a child, right? Because like this is the candy holiday, and we'd get like an apple or like literally like a mandarin orange or like whatever. So we always kind of didn't like that house. And then there was another house where we would get pennies. For some unknown reason, we would get literally, I'm not kidding you, a little plastic baggie of pennies from this woman. I have no idea what was going on in her head. I don't know why she was giving away pennies to the neighborhood kids who came trick-or-treating. It's completely bizarre. I can't figure it out. In both of those instances, I would argue that those people get a thumbs down for not giving out candy. They should have been giving out candy. If you can give out apples or fruit or fresh produce, which is, dramatically more expensive per piece than candy. We just lost Dom's camera. Apparently, he's too upset about what I'm saying. Anyway, if you can afford to give out fresh produce or pennies, actually literally giving away money instead of candy, then you should just be giving out candy. Like, resist it. Like, I don't think that Halloween is the time to protest nutrition for children, right? Let kids have candy on Halloween. That's crazy. Now, I will say that, look, times are tough. Things are difficult for some folks. Some folks are struggling right now. I totally understand that. They're struggling to make, to make ends meet, to pay their bills, and candy has kind of gotten obscenely expensive. So with that in mind, if people genuinely can't afford to give out candy, I wouldn't hold that against them, right? If they can't give out candy, I wouldn't hold it against them. If they can't afford to give out some candy, I wouldn't hold it against them. I would say, if you can afford it and you do have kids that come around trick-or-treating, try to get some like penny candies or something like that, something inexpensive, that you can pass out to people. But yeah, I mean, if you genuinely can't, I would say just turn the porch light off. Don't invite people up to the house to knock. Look, times are tough for a lot of folks in a lot of different places. I would never hold it against someone if they're struggling to make ends meet and can't afford to give out candy because of that. So yeah, I would never hold that against someone, but I will absolutely 100% hold it against someone who makes a choice to not give candy out on Halloween and to give something else out instead that they know that the kids will not be happy with, that they know will be sort of annoying or frustrating to the kids in the neighborhood, of the kids that come to the door. If you are one of those people that chooses to give out anything other than candy on Halloween, you get a thumbs down.
That was well played all around.
I was filling a little bit until you got your camera back working and got back on screen here with me. So I was dragging it out a second, but yeah, I mean, that's I think if you choose not to, then thumbs down, man. Thumbs down. Not cool. Not cool.
Well, Tom, even though my camera went off, I can make reels of you. I thought you played it well, because there are people like, look, my dad's 83 and lives in an old farmhouse. He'll probably trip and fall walking out to the front door. Okay, there's a reason that he can't give candy. Or like you said, candy's expensive as hell. I went and bought a bag. The bags were like $20, and they're smaller bags, and the candy bars are smaller. I mean, well said, Tom. I mean, come on. A humbug.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, kids get so excited. I mean, I remember, right, as a kid, how excited I got for Halloween and going trick-or-treating and going out with my friends and getting dressed up, and like it was fun. And like, I mean, thumbs down to people who don't participate in that, at least, even if it's not fun for you. Like, look, I don't love getting dressed up. I don't love wearing costumes. Like, that's not my thing. I'm not going to costume parties on a regular basis. Like, but the other night, my wife and I, even though she'll never remember it, we took our daughter to a little trick-or-treat thing at the library here in town, right? They put on a little thing. They had like a pumpkin carving contest, which obviously she didn't participate in because she's, 16 months old, but they had a little pumpkin carving contest, and they did a little trick-or-treat thing where you walked around the library and you went to different spots, and they had coloring books and they had some candy and stuff that they gave out to the kids, and they had somebody there singing music, and it was fun, right? It was a good time for the kids. Like, was I wearing a costume? No. Was my wife wearing a costume? No. Was our daughter wearing a costume? Yeah. Did she have fun? Yeah. Like, so whatever, like, you get out of your own way, like, get over your own hangups, stop handing out apples or pennies, and like, give kids a freaking Snickers bar. And I don't want to hear it if you're one of those people who's like, oh, sugar is bad. Sugar is sugar. Your body doesn't know the difference. Like, the sugar from an apple and the sugar from a Snickers bar, guess what? By the time it gets through your digestive system and into your bloodstream, it's the freaking same, right? So like, don't give me any of that grief about like, sugar this and sugar that, and you can't eat sugar, got to cut out sugar. Like, I don't want to hear it. One day a year, like some candy every year around Halloween is not going to like, ruin a kid's nutrition for the year. Go give them some candy if you can afford to. Give people candy on Halloween, period, end of story.
That's good stuff, Tom. I want to give a public service announcement too here. This is Dom's public service announcement. My daughter's 16 years old, and she's going to go out with her friends on Halloween. My daughter gets good grades. She's a good person. She has a job. She's not out there causing any trouble. She wants to dress up. Her friends are good people. 16-year-olds, they lost 2 years, 3 years with the pandemic. Let these teenagers go out. They're not out breaking anything. Same with, there's so many people out there trick-or-treating that could have sensory issues. They don't say thank you. They could be allergic to peanut butter, and they look down in your bowl and they're sad. Just have some grace. Have some grace with the older kids. Have some grace with the younger kids. Have some grace with the people that don't say trick or treat right away or thank you right away. Just give your candy. Have a good night. Enjoy seeing all these people of all ages, and let's just have a good Halloween. So that's Dom's public service announcement on how to act that night. What do you say, Tom?
So are we gonna have to add another segment to the show now? We got Tom's Thumbs, we got Memory Lane. Do we have to add a Dom's PSA to the show too?
It's all public service announcements. What's going on in Dom's business? What's going on in Tom's business? Quit writing your book with all AI. I'm a publisher. Next, what's going on in Dom's business? Come on, I don't want to see all AI books. I know as the reader of the book, when it's 20 chapters of AI over and over again, and when everything looks exactly the same, there's no personal story in it. It repeats 4 sections later, the same information just said. I mean, it's the same line with the same amount of characters in it almost. I know the reader knows it. You could do a better job on your own. So, Tom, now I'm all worked up.
All right, now we're on a tangent, but I want to run with it for a second because I've got a good, what I think and what I've been told is a good way of thinking about how generative AI works, right? And understanding what you're getting out of it. Okay. So, of course, this is a visual metaphor because, like, surprise, surprise, the video guy came up with a visual metaphor to explain how generative AI works, right? But basically, think of, like, we've all probably had the experience at some point in our lives of going to like a salad bar or a buffet, right? You go to a buffet, there's all this food laid out, or a salad bar, there's all this food laid out, and you get to go through with a plate and pick what you want and put it on your plate, and everybody's plate looks different, right? Because everybody picks out some of what they want. They pick out a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that, right? To make their own plate unique, right? And that's similar to the way, sort of like creatively, we work, right? So like when it comes to creative work, everybody is kind of making their own plate, so to speak, right? Everybody's bringing their own sensibilities, their own biases, their own life experiences to inform how they put that plate together and what they put on that plate and how that plate ends up being composed in the end, right? Now, what AI does is AI has access to the same buffet, right? And so you give AI a prompt. You say, AI, make me a plate, right? And so what AI does is it goes, oh, okay, well, I've got a bunch of this, I've got a bunch of that, so like, let's just pick some food out, right? Like, let's go buffet, because it can be a little bit more interesting that way. So like, you might say to AI, hey, AI, I'm at a buffet, make me a plate, right? AI will go to the buffet and AI will get some chicken fingers, right? And AI will get some green beans, and AI will get some soft serve ice cream, and AI will get some cottage cheese, and AI will get some canned peaches, and AI will get a piece of Salisbury steak, and it'll put all of that into a blender, mix it up, run the blender, puree it all together, and then pour it back on the plate and hand you that plate, right? Like that's kind of how generative AI works. It has access to kind of the same information we all have access to essentially through the internet, right? And what it does is it goes through all the information that it has access to, what it's been trained on, right? It goes through that information and it pulls out pieces that it feels like make sense, and then it puts them together and spits it back out at you, right? But the problem is with sending AI to the buffet is AI has no taste buds, right? Like ChatGPT has no taste buds. So ChatGPT doesn't care what the finished product tastes like, right? It's not important to them. It doesn't matter if the flavors are complementary. It just knows that like chicken fingers taste good, and like cottage cheese tastes good to some people, and Salisbury steak tastes good to some people, and apple pie tastes good, and soft serve ice cream tastes good, and all these individual things like people like. And so it takes all these things that it knows people like and mixes them together and spits them out. The problem is like nobody wants Salisbury steak with soft serve ice cream on it, right? Like nobody wants to eat that. I don't know, maybe somebody does, but like I would say they're wrong for wanting to eat that. Like, sorry, not to yuck anybody's yum, but ew. Like don't put soft serve on your Salisbury steak. But that's how AI works, how generative AI works, in kind of a very simplified way, or it's a good way to think about it. So like, don't send AI to the buffet without very clear, very specific instructions on what you want, how you want it put together. And then when it brings it back, look at the plate, right? Check its work. Make sure that it brought you what you asked for, and it didn't put a piece of apple pie, right, on top of your crab legs because it thought you liked crab legs and you liked apple pie. That made sense to it, right? Like, don't just take it for granted that it understands. Double check its work. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a Salisbury steak, soft serve, cottage cheese smoothie, right? And that's not going to be good for anyone. So yeah, so that's my PSA on how you should think about dealing with generative AI and why it's a bad idea to use it to accomplish tasks without double checking its work and making sure that it's delivering what you want it to deliver.
That's good stuff. We might have to do a whole room of PSAs someday, just one after another. This is something you've seen. We're mad about it, or okay, not the smartest guys in the room. When is the time to cut bait? Okay, Julie Loken, Jamie, we're coming. Julie first. You can talk about Tom's thoughts on candy. When is it time to cut ties? We were talking about project partners, anything, or AI being like a salad bar or a buffet. What do you got, Julie?
I just believe Tom has become a softer, kinder human since he became a father. That's all I got. Thank you.
That reminds me. So people that don't give candy or give weird candy got a thumbs down. That was your saying, because he was on.
Well, I'm almost seeing the roles reverse here. Like you're becoming the curmudgeon, and Tom's becoming like the kinder, gentler, not the smartest guy. He's becoming the more reasonable one now that he has a daughter. So I don't know. And now that your kids are flying the coop, I don't know. It's really confusing to me actually right now. So.
Yeah, you're right. He gave three thumbs it up in a row, and then even today his thumbs down was really like a thumbs up. So I am confused, and maybe I've been trying to.
I
Are
don't
you,
really know where I am anymore.
Yeah,
Actually, where am I?
Dom, are you becoming the heel? Is
I
that
know.
what's happening? Are we trading places? Are you becoming the heel?
My whole life is about being good cop and positioning other people as bad cops. So
I
uh,
mean, I heard Dom swear like for almost 2 minutes straight last week. So come on.
no, Julie, how dare! I do swear every once in a while. Swearing's not bad. Right place, right time. Right place, right place, right time, right message. That's what you need to know. Sometimes when going into battle, you gotta be ready to battle. Okay, when is it time to cut bait and move on? Or Tom's Halloween thoughts or AI? Jamie, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, I'm kind of going to blend it together right now with AI and Halloween because of my haunt actor stuff and my witch cackle. We're blending the idea of Halloween with my cackle on um, animation stuff. So I'm using ChatGPT. Oh, you guys challenged me to do those things. So I'm using it and I am finding the salad. It's quite funny though because I will triple and, as I said in the message, have it looked at by other people, not your own eyes. Before you do anything, I think someone else has always got to look at it. But Halloween's been fun. Um, I'm actually in the rain outside, so I'm just waiting to go get picked up. So I'd pop in quickly.
Well, we appreciate you braving the rain, and good luck with all your Halloween haunts and your ongoing fame in the horror genre. We're lucky to have you in here, especially around
uh,
Halloween. So thank you.
I
Stay the
never
course.
told you. I told you I did voices.
Hey, I got a couple screenplays started in the woods, Halloween type stuff. So
I've
so
seen your horror stuff on Facebook. I appreciate you guys tenfold. You know, if I could travel and it wouldn't cost me $1 million, I would, and I will in the
Thank
future.
you, Jamie, actually, for everything you've done for our Facebook page too. It hasn't gone unnoticed.
see,
Oh, I
Jamie's
love
giving.
Facebook. Facebook's fun for me. For all of you guys on there, Facebook's fun for me. That's why you don't see me on here as much. So I apologize.
Hey, we were talking earlier. That's a good point. We were talking earlier. The subject today has been when is it time to cut bait and move on? And if something doesn't serve you, whether it's a project, whether it's an app,
Oh,
whether it's a platform, well, maybe it's time to move on. So, well,
yes, I am stepping up.
okay, Jamie, glad to have you here. When is it time to cut bait and move on? Tom, I got to go to my
Can
notes.
I ask you guys really quick because I missed the beginning? What was the onus of this topic? Because there must have been a trigger. Like, is there a reason why you brought up this topic? Are you thinking of cutting bait on something? I'm just
Always,
curious.
always, every day of my life, I think of cutting bait on things. So I work on 1,000 projects. We talk about apps. So once we started going back and forth, jobs, partnerships, everything like that, we started realizing there was a million ways to go with it. And so it was Tom that came up with the catchy time to cut bait. And he was like, "What are you asking me? Is it time to cut bait and move on?" I was like, "Yeah, that's good, Tom." So go to Tom on that. Go on.
Well, I didn't come up with that term. Like that's a colloquialism that I heard somewhere, which I think is like a fishing aphorism. But like anyway, I think at the end of the day, for me, the thing that I struggle with, right, is as a creative person, I'm always excited about a new project, right? Like I'm always excited about something new I can do creatively, some new project, some new partnership, some new association. So and so wants to do this. What if we did this? Hey, Tom, do you want to help me with this? Right? Are you interested in working on this with me? I'm constantly being sort of offered opportunities like that. And the vast majority of them don't go anywhere, right? Like, because just like me, like lots of other creative people, we love to have these great ideas, and then a lot of us are not the best on follow through, and like I will definitely put myself in that boat, right? Like Dom and I were texting back and forth the other day, and I said thank you to him for kicking me on something to get me to do something that I should have done a long time ago, right? Which was actually uploading a bunch of episodes of Not the Smartest Guys to Dr. Tachi so we could finally join Indie Soup. And yeah, so I'm not great at follow through sometimes, and but I'm always like, I'm the first guy to say, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like fun. So sometimes I need to be better about sort of, cutting bait on some of those projects as things sort of languish and falter. Maybe I need to look at it and just have a conversation with somebody and put something to bed, right? Say, hey, I don't think this is going anywhere. Like, should we just lay it down and let it go, right? Should we just walk away, or are we going to pick it up and actually go forward with it in earnest? I think that's one of the things that I struggle with as a creative. And maybe I'm misplacing that, right? Like, I don't want to put everybody else in the same boat as me. Something I struggle with my personality, right? Because of the way my brain works, its unique brokenness. I tend to start a lot of projects and not finish all of them, right? So I start far more than I finish. That's just me. But yeah. So I don't know. What do you think, Dom? You said you got something else to add to that?
Yeah, I have a rebuttal on this. For me, how I decide to move forward with projects or cut bait with projects when I'm working in a collaboration is, can the other person move the project forward in some way? And I don't ever expect them to do more than me. I don't expect them to carry it on their own. I'm saying, are they moving it forward at all? Right? It could be one phone call, it could be a message, it could be an email, it could be, hey, Dom, here's an idea that we could add to that. We moved it forward a little bit. And I could be the culprit too. Am I moving it forward? Maybe I can look at it and say, I'm not moving this forward. I don't see the vision. I don't see the future. So I'm holding this person up. So for me, when working with someone, they don't have to carry all the weight. Carry some. Move it forward. If we can move it incrementally forward, the smallest movement forward is forward. I'll take that every day. It moves at the end of a year. Hey, look how far we've come. Year 5. So forward in some way, Tom. That's how I decide.
And I think that's fair. I think that's a great point. Like, at the end of the day, if things are still moving, if it's not languishing, right, then it's probably worth holding on to, especially if it doesn't require a lot of effort to sort of keep something going, right? If it's not a drain and it's still rolling a little bit, let it roll, right? But if it's sitting still and nobody's touched it for a while, then I don't know, maybe that's a good signal, for my own life, for my own projects, that maybe I need to cut bait and have somebody else give me a hand. So or let it go. But anyway, without rehashing that too much, let's move on now that we've I think that horse, it's time to cut bait on that horse. It's laying down. It's taking its last breath. So let's move on to memory lane. What do you got for us this week? Where are you going to take us on a walk today, Dom?
Okay, today in honor of Halloween, I'm going to take you to some of the best Halloween costumes that I've ever had. I want you to think back, those ones with those things around your head, that rubber band that squeeze your circulation. My best Halloween costumes were made by my grandma. We called her Chevy, and she sewed like the wind. And so I remember she made me I don't even know what the fabric was, like felt or something like that. And the felt was, she made me an ET one year. The face looked just like ET, and my whole body was in this like ET fabric suit. And then another year, she made me a bulldog, and I had teeth that stuck out of the bulldog, and they smelled like smoke. And they say you never forget in your life, you never forget a smell. Man, my Halloween costumes, E.T., the bulldog made by my grandma that smelled like smoke. Extra baggy, but the mask, I don't even know how somebody could sew that good. The masks were absolutely perfect. So memory lane today is Chevy. Thank you for making me those beautiful Halloween costumes. I don't know how long it took, but 40 years later, the memories are still there. So thank you. That's memory lane, Tom.
Did you did those felt costumes that smelled like smoke? Did they have any? Were there any like ash marks or ash burns from? I'm imagining, you know, Chevy, right? This older woman sitting there with a cigarette dangling out of her mouth and just sewing furiously on ET's face, and the ash kind of falling off onto the costume. Were there any burn marks there?
Not that I knew of, but I would bet if I get, my mom was a collector of things, so I would bet if I go back and go through some closets, there's probably old ET or old. Now, what's strange is, Tom, I used to look like ET as well. I had this gun and misshaped head, so it was a perfect fit.
Did you have a best friend named Elliot?
I had no friends. I just played with ET up in my room, a little leather ET. So
So were you Elliot in that scenario, or were there just two ETs?
people talk about like not identifying with ET, but a kid that was alone playing with dolls. I had Cabbage Patch. I had Lyle Cody. I had a bald Cabbage Patch. I had it all. Those were my friends, Tom. And then I went and played in the woods behind my house until I was old enough to walk about 5 miles to the neighborhood down the road.
Gotcha.
Me too. That's why we click. I played with my Smurfs.
There you go. I had a Smurf collection. I hear you. We're still talking. All right. When is it time to cut bait and move on, Tom? It is almost time to move on, but not before you wrap us up with a sweet wrap up. I could tell you all the things we talked about, but I would rather you do it. So take us home.
You would rather I have that pressure, right? So yeah. So we talked about a bunch of things today. Obviously, kind of went off on some tangents as per usual. You know, what can I say? I'm easily distracted and or easily annoyed. I don't know, one of the two. But yeah, you know, started with this idea of like, when is it time to cut bait and move on? And I think when the situation, the relationship, whatever the case may be, whether it's a partnership with someone else, whether it's you know, a tool that you're using, an app, whatever the case may be, when it stops serving you, right? When it stops you know, moving things forward for you, right? As you said, Dom, when it's no longer of service to you and it's no longer moving you closer towards something you want to accomplish, it's probably time to cut bait and move on, right? Just as a general idea. So I think that's a good question we can always ask ourselves when we're looking at not just the work that we're doing, but how we're spending our time during the day, the individual tasks that we're engaging in, the calls that we're getting on with people, the conversations we're having, the interactions we're having with people, you know, professionally, and even in some cases personally, right? At the end of the day, if those interactions, if those relationships, if those tasks, if those things are not sort of bringing you satisfaction or bringing you joy, or moving things forward to you in a professional way, then I think it's time to cut bait and move on. So that's kind of all I have to say about that. And then the last thing I'll leave it with is we got Halloween coming up in a couple of days. And I would just say this, don't be the house that chooses to give something other than candy. Make sure that you give out candy on Halloween. It's the right thing to do, unless you want a thumbs down from me. So anyway, so that's all I got for this week. Happy Halloween to everybody. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. You guys are the reason why we show up every week to do this. For Dom, I'm Tom. We are not the smartest guys in the room. Have a happy Halloween. Have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.